Good evening. A highway crash brings tragedy to an area high school football team.
A senior football player at Dunmore High School in Lackawanna County and a college coach who was recruiting him have both been killed in a car truck crash. 18-year-old Billy Ruddy of Dunmore was a passenger in a car driven by Frank Batsko of Mansfield. The 25-year-old Batsko was an assistant coach at Mansfield University in Tioga County. They are both dead. 18-year-old Robert Ruddy, William's twin brother, is in serious condition in an Elmira, New York hospital tonight. Police report Batsko's car skidded into an oncoming tractor trailer on Route 6 in Tioga County. Newswatch 16 sports director Joe Zone is standing by now in his office with some reaction to this tragic death of the Dunmore athlete.
Well, I'll tell you, this afternoon, the students and, well, the teachers were told that a special assembly called at Dunmore High School and then let out early and told really to go home and sort of say a prayer for the boys. The twins have become such an inspiration for the entire school. One dead, one seriously injured. The shock in Dunmore almost unbearable.
I speak for Coach Hens's. I think we feel as though we lost one of our own sons. It's an awful loss to our school community.
He's our best friend. You don't know what to do. You know, everyone cried, but what can you do? You know, it's all over with.
When we were going up to St. Mary's Church here, just to say a little prayer, light a candle or something, just try and get by.
I'll have more later on. Okay, let's get to it. Little doubt, I think, about Bill and Bobby Ruddy, the twin running backs out of Dunmore. They lived to play football. Today, it was that love for the game that has cost one boy's life, has left the other in serious condition. They were on a football recruiting trip to Mansfield University. A Mansfield assistant coach was driving. The car hit a patch of ice, skidded across the center lane, and head-on into a tractor trailer. The coach, Frank Batsko from Scranton, and Bill Ruddy were killed. Bob Ruddy, right now, in serious condition and at a hospital in Elmira. Many of you are familiar with the Ruddys. They led Dunmore to an undefeated season and an Eastern Conference championship. Both gained over 1,000 yards this year. Billy, number 37, was our sports star of the week after Dunmore beat Williamsport in a playoff game. He led his team that day more in spirit. He had come in to start after missing 2 weeks following arthroscopic knee surgery. Did it slow you down at all, you noticed? Did it hamper you at all?
Not really. Like, if I got hit, it would hurt for a couple minutes and then it would go away.
Bobby, number 43, was also a WNEP TV sports star. In the title game against West Scranton, Bob rushed for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. I can't help but remember back to that interview when he talked about a tree planted in Dunmore Stadium, a tree in memory of their father who had died earlier in the year.
We dedicated the season to my father. We came this far, and there was no way I was going to let it get away.
Of all of the football achievements, I'm sure our Super 16 trophy was pretty insignificant, but both were present the day that I delivered the trophy to the Dunmore team. Billy and Bobby Ruddy on the way today to Mansfield University on a recruiting trip. Billy is dead. Bobby is in serious condition. Okay, let's pick it up just a bit.
Good evening. It's been 2 days of tragedy.
First, we as a nation were faced with the deaths of the shuttle astronauts. Now people in our area are mourning the deaths of a high school football star and a coach. A car accident in Tioga County has killed Dunmore High School football star Bill Ruddy. His brother Robert was seriously hurt in that crash. The accident also claimed the life of Mansfield University assistant coach Frank Batsko, who was originally from Scranton. Police say their car slid on some ice along Route 6 in Tioga County and hit a tractor trailer this morning. Bob Ruddy remains in serious condition tonight at a hospital in New York State. The tragic accident has left a lot of people in shock, especially football fans. Joe Zone is live in his sports office now with more.
Karen, the Ruddys, I don't think really were just well known in Dunmore, but really football fans throughout our viewing area had heard about the twin running backs from Dunmore. Their story, I think, publicized all year. 3-year starters at Dunmore, Billy, number 37, Bob, number 43. They were 1,000-yard rushers this year. Combined, they gave the Bucks one of the most dominating running games we've seen. Billy was slowed just a bit by arthroscopic knee surgery. Still, he was a key in the win over Williamsport in the conference semifinals. Bobby was the star in the championship game. He scored 3 times. Billy and Bobby Ruddy led Dunmore to a perfect record and to the WNEP TV Super 16 #1 award. Tonight, Joe Ducey went to Dunmore to find out how the people there are reacting to this horrible news.
It looked like your typical day in Dunmore on the outside. Traffic at this intersection was backed up, as it always seems to be this time of day. But when you talk to the people, you get a different story. A crash left 18-year-old Dunmore football star Bill Ruddy dead, his twin brother Bob with serious injuries, and the town is in mourning.
I don't want to believe it. It's hard to believe. They're two of the best kids you ever want to meet.
It's a tragic thing because, like, their family has gone through so much in the past year, and then they had such a winning season. They were excellent athletes.
Last year, the Ruddys, in their senior year, led the Dunmore Bucks to an undefeated season in the Eastern Conference Championship. The feat brought the town together. There are still reminders of it all over Dunmore, and this seems to have increased the sadness.
They got everybody together. That's something we never had by doing what they did.
They were like the nucleus of the team. They brought it together. They brought it all together. If it wasn't for them, I don't think they would have went unbeaten.
This is just the most recent Ruddy tragedy. In May of 1984, the Ruddy's dad died suddenly, and this tree was planted in his honor. Where else but at the Dunmore Stadium? It's not hard to understand why this accident hit the community so hard. Everybody I talked to had the same positive things to say about the Ruddys, and they won't soon forget Bill Ruddy. In the words of one person I talked to, he was part of something that gave this town a name, and that alone will keep his memory alive for years to come. Joe Ducey, Newswatch 16 in Dunmore.
All of us here at Sportswatch 16 especially touched by this tragic story, and of course we send our condolences to the Ruddy family and wish them a speedy recovery to all of us. Karen and Nolan.
Thank you, Joe. Today, church bells outside the Space Center rang out at exactly 24 hours after yesterday's tragic explosion.
Dunmore High School and thoroughly enjoyed his relationship with the pair of wonderful young men. Sid's last television feature with the Ruddys occurred when Bill hurt his knee. It was their vitality that highlighted this presentation back on November 7th.
Two 1,000-yard rushers on the same football team is rare. Two 1,000-yard rushers on the same team that are also brothers is almost never. But that's just what the Dunmore Bucks have in number 43, Bob, and number 37, Bill Ruddy. The identical twins have made their impression not only on Dunmore football and on the entire Big 11 Conference, but also on each other.
It's a good feeling because you always have somebody back there that'll do the best for you, and you're always competing against them. So that'll make you a better football player, just like it'll make him. You know, we're close and we help each other, you know, at home and stuff like that. But we'll yell at each other every now and then, letting each other know that one did a wrong move or something, you know.
And they work very, very hard at it, and they do a lot of running in the summertime, and their main interest, of course, is playing football, and that's their big concern. They do things so very, very well, and as I mentioned they just have a lot of athletic ability.
It's only natural that Bob and Bill have always been competitive, from midget football right through high school.
There's a little bit of competition, but we're more close. We root for each other, let each other know we're right behind each other. We've always tried to get more yardage than one another and try to make more tackles than the other.
It's something that I don't know if anyone in the country has ever had something like this. And we have two boys that are twins that have scored 1,000 yards and made it on the same evening, which I think is almost unique, and we're just so happy for them. I know this is what their dad wanted, and we're just so happy. I know Jim's looking down on us right now and saying, boy, I'm just so proud of them.
In number 43, Bob Ruddy and his teammate brother Bill Ruddy, the Dunmore Bucks have something unique. It's something that may not be the same anywhere else in the country, and it's something that won't be the same here at Dunmore when these two kids graduate. Sid Michaels, Eyewitness Sports.
Over the shuttle disaster, now northeastern and central Pennsylvania is dealing with other tragedies that hit hard. Wednesday morning, a traffic accident in Tioga County claimed the life of a star football player from Dunmore High. Bill Ruddy was killed. His twin brother Bob was hurt when the car they were in slid out of control on a slippery Route 6 and hit a truck. An assistant coach from Mansfield University was also killed. Frank Butzko, by the way, was a Scranton native. The Loyalsock High School in Lycoming County is also in mourning today. 17-year-old Patrick Thorne and 17-year-old Raymond Keisling, both of Williamstown, Williamsport. Both players for the Loyalsock team were killed Wednesday afternoon in a car crash. Two other team members, 17-year-old Patrick Lanzel and 17-year-old Kevin Scott, were hurt. They're in the Geisinger Medical Center in serious condition. State police say the accident happened on Route 1115 south of Selinsgrove, that the car they were in slid out of control and hit another car. Now, Sports Watch 16's Jay Christopher is here with more on this tragic loss of local athletes.
Thank you, Frank. Bill Ruddy was one of the all-time great running backs at Dunmore. He wore jersey number 37. Now, he missed 2 games during the 1985 season because of a knee injury, but he still scored 11 times and amassed more than 1,000 yards on the year. For his excellence on the field, he was named Channel 16 Sports Star of the Week following Dunmore's victory over Williamsport. Now, brother Bob, injured in that same mishap, also ran for 1,000 yards for the year. He scored 26 touchdowns for the Bucks as they won the conference title and finished with a 13-0 log. Scranton native Frank Butzko also died in that accident. He was an assistant football coach at Mansfield State. All 3 were on their way to the college on a recruiting appointment. In Williamsport, 2 more sports figures, as Frank related, are dead and 2 seriously injured. Dead are Loyalsock High School star center Patrick Thorne and fullback Ray Kiesling. Now, injured were defensive lineman of the year Patrick Lanzel and guard Kevin Scott. All were instrumental in leading the Lancers to a second-place finish in the West Branch with a 9-1 log. Our sympathies go out to all the families of those deceased. Frank.
And as you say, it is very tragic, and our sympathies go to everyone. Thank you very much, Jay. In other news today, a 64-year-old Wayne County woman has died in a fire at her home. That's for sure.
We would care not to report this kind of news, Frank. Thank you very much. As Frank mentioned some moments ago, 2 separate car accidents, 4 fatalities, 3 serious injuries. Dunmore High School this midday mourns the death of one of its top-ranked running backs ever in Bill Ruddy. Ruddy was killed along with Scranton native and Mansfield assistant football coach Frank Butzko in an auto truck crash in Tioga County on Wednesday. Ruddy's brother Bob was injured in that same accident. He's in serious condition at an Elmira hospital. Ruddy amassed more than 1,000 yards. Here he's wearing number 37. You see him running. He amassed over 1,000 yards last season, even though he missed 2 games because of knee surgery. Ruddy ran roughshod over all would-be tacklers. Now, following the Dunmore victory over Williamsport in an Eastern playoff game, Ruddy was named Sports Star of the Week by Channel 16 Sports Panel. His brother Bob, also 1,000-yard gainer on the year, helped the Bucks to an undefeated 13-0 season, a season that catapulted them to the Eastern Conference Championship.
Back to school in Lycoming County. Rick Mason tells us about the shock and the sadness in the Loyalsock district.
Flags at half-staff in Loyalsock took on local meaning today as the community mourned the deaths of 17-year-olds Ray Kiesling and Todd Thorne. Friends, teachers, and fellow classmates were grief-stricken. Students were crying in the halls. Ray Suhaki was shocked at first, then it set in.
They were very popular, and they'll be missed. I know I miss them. I'm sure they do too.
How do you handle something like this?
I don't know. It's never really happened to me before.
Many were so upset a minister and a priest were called in to console the students.
It was really tough. Nobody could really say anything at first in the morning.
They were pretty popular.
Yeah, they were. They'll be really missed.
The principal knew both boys very well, calling them good students, good athletes, and outstanding kids. He talked with the student body this morning.
We just hope that they can be with each other and I can handle all the irate parents and all the other, but I can't handle this.
Kiesling and Thorne were riding with fellow seniors Pat Lanzel and Kevin Scott during the accident. All 4 young men were instrumental in the Lancers' second-place finish in the West Branch Conference last fall. The school was dismissed before noon as a tribute to them. Rick Mason, Eyewitness News, Loyalsock Township.
Tonight, Patrick Lanzel is in critical condition, while Kevin Scott is listed as serious at the Geisinger Medical Center.
These 2 accidents are a stunning coincidence. As we reported yesterday, the Ruddy twins, 2 Dunmore High School football stars, were involved in a serious car crash. They were en route to Mansfield University for a recruitment meeting. Billy Ruddy died, and Robert is still in serious condition at a hospital in New York State. Also, Mansfield coach Frank Butzko died in the crash. He, too, a football star once at West Scranton. Today, friends and neighbors of Billy Ruddy grieved over his death. The 18-year-old was well-liked and respected. That story tonight from Bill Longworth.
The school year started with excitement. The Dunmore Bucks brought home the Big 11 and Eastern Conference football trophies with the help of the Ruddy twins. Today, the tragedy is almost too much to comprehend. Principal Joe McDonald says school is in session so that students can be together, but the expressions and the silence show the grief. We've all followed the football triumphs of Billy and Bobby Ruddy, and it's ironic at a tragic time like this that now the nation will share in those triumphs. The new edition of Sports Illustrated mentions the Ruddy twins. Faces in the crowd profiles their athletic accomplishments. Football player Rob Kinzer says he won't forget Billy Ruddy.
He never stopped working. He was always thinking of somebody else, you know. He never thought of, like, himself ahead of anybody else. He was always thinking, like, in terms of making everybody else happy, rather than himself.
I'm going to remember Billy because he was a beautiful, gorgeous 18-year-old blonde boy, a $1 million Irish personality, and just a nice kid.
The shock extends well beyond the walls of Dunmore High School.
It's awfully hard for me to look today at his empty seat in my classroom and the children. Very hard for them.
In his short life, Billy Ruddy made a lasting impression on the people he knew. Bill Longworth, Eyewitness News, Dunmore.
And as Dave Moulton tells us, Ruddy's comeback is just about complete.
On set. That's the idea.
Bob Ruddy is playing football again. Less than 6 months after a tragic car accident took the life of his brother and left him in the hospital, the Dunmore tailback will be in the backfield for the Pennsylvania All-Stars in the Big 33 Football Classic August 2nd in Hershey. Playing in this game is an honor, but in this case, it's special. During their senior year, if the Ruddys score a touchdown, they would come into the end zone, hold the ball up high, and point it towards this tree, which was planted in their father's memory. On August 2nd, if Bob Ruddy scores a touchdown, he'll remember his brother as well.
When my father died, me and my brother both dedicated the whole year to my father. And this game is going to be dedicated to my father and my brother.
From a football standpoint, Bob says he's 85% ready to go, and that to his coach is simply remarkable.
When I went to see Bobby that night in the hospital up in Elmira, I looked at him and I was just so thankful to God that he was alive. He has that type of, that something inside of his body system that says, I want to do the best I possibly can, and I think right now he has two great incentives to do that.
So Bob Ruddy will suit up the crimson and red number 43 one more time. And that in itself is an inspiration, but even more, a lesson in courage. From Dunmore High School for News 22 Sports, I'm Dave Moulton.
He's going to come back,
Very
I'll tell
nice.
you. Oh, that's great. We'll be right back.
The news of the accident struck the faculty and students of Dunmore like a lightning bolt.
We thought it was our duty to let our school students know. So we called them into an assembly in the gymnasium with the faculty and the staff, and we told them the bad news. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do.
The Ruddy twins were in a car driven by Mansfield assistant football coach Frank Butzko, a 1978 graduate of West Scranton High School. Butzko himself was an all-scholastic football star, as were the Ruddys. State police say Butzko and Bill Ruddy were riding in the front seat of a car that ran under the trailer portion of a coal truck about 5 miles from Mansfield. Bob Ruddy was seated in the back seat of the car and was critically injured. Tonight he's in serious condition at an Elmira, New York hospital. I guess labeling the Ruddy boys as popular would be an understatement.
They're probably the best two athletes that ever came out of Dunmore High School, or maybe Lackawanna County.
Today, the flag at Dunmore Senior High School is flying at half-staff in memory of a national tragedy that occurred yesterday. But now that flag is going to take on a more personal, more private meaning for the people of Dunmore and the students at Dunmore High School. Brian Francis, Eyewitness News, Dunmore, Lackawanna County.
They're probably the best two athletes that ever came out of Dunmore High School, or maybe Lackawanna County.
Dunmore High School Principal Joseph McDonald. This afternoon, he had the task of telling the Dunmore student body about the accident.
We felt that since the Ruddy brothers were so popular and that our school family should have been told. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And
there was just a silence. Everybody was stunned.
and then all you could hear is everybody crying.
They were loved by everyone. Like, the young kids were always, like, just bothering for autographs if they were, like, professional football players. And they never let that get to their head. They were just always, like, the normal student in high school.
There's no denying the Ruddy boys the respect their athletic accomplishments earned for them, but it was not something they made mention of.
They had lots of chances to brag about their accomplishments, but they were always quiet. They kept to themselves. They wouldn't walk around the halls and brag about what they've done.
Billy and Bobby led their team to the Eastern Conference Championship over West Scranton last fall, the first such championship ever for Dunmore. But West Scranton has had their share of outstanding football players. One of them was Frank Butzko, the Mansfield coach who was also killed in the accident.
Frank Butzko was, you know, in life you meet givers and takers, and Frank was a giver.
D'Antona said that as a coach, Frank Butzko always tried to give scholarships. It was just a shame that he and Billy Ruddy died as he tried to do just that. Brian Francis, Eyewitness News Nightcast, Dunmore.
The school year started with excitement. The Dunmore Bucks brought home the Big 11 and Eastern Conference football trophies with the help of the Ruddy twins. Today, the tragedy is almost too much to comprehend. Principal Joe McDonald says school is in session so that students can be together, but the expressions and the silence show the grief. We've all followed the football triumphs of Billy and Bobby Ruddy, and it's ironic at a tragic time like this that now the nation will share in those triumphs. The new edition of Sports Illustrated mentions the Ruddy twins. Faces in the crowd profiles their athletic accomplishments. Football player Rob Kinzer says he won't forget Billy Ruddy.
He never stopped working. He was always thinking of somebody else, you know. He never thought of, like, himself ahead of anybody else. He was always thinking, like, in terms of making everybody else happy rather than himself.
I'm going to remember Billy because he was a beautiful, gorgeous 18-year-old blonde boy, a $1 million Irish personality, and just a nice kid.
The shock extends well beyond the walls of Dunmore High School.
Awfully hard for me to look today at his empty seat in my classroom and the children. Very hard for them.
In his short life, Billy Ruddy made a lasting impression on the people he knew. Bill Longworth, Eyewitness News, Dunmore. The people of Dunmore gathered this morning to say goodbye to Bill Ruddy. Billy, along with his brother Bob, and the entire Dunmore football team brought joy and pride to this community, and it's that community now taking the time to repay that respect. Hundreds of people turned out for the funeral mass at the St. Mary of Mount Carmel Church. Monsignor Charles Hyde told the people that death opens the door to heaven and paradise, but it was the football team that provided the touching remembrance.
There was never any dissension on the team because of the Ruddy brothers' consideration for others. They were unselfish, an inspiration to others. What magnificent epitaphs, spoken by fellow players. Who would know Bill Ruddy better than his own teammates?
The Monsignor explained that we don't grieve for Billy Ruddy, we grieve because we miss him. Billy Ruddy was only 19 years old, but in his brief lifetime, he helped create memories that many will cherish. So in this time of tragedy, it's comforting to know that Billy Ruddy and the memories he helped create will not be forgotten. Bill Longworth, Eyewitness News, Dunmore.
For this year, a lot of those Dunmore fans might be going down to Hershey for the annual Big 33 game. It's tomorrow night at Hershey Park Stadium. For the second straight year, the Pennsylvania All-Stars will be playing Maryland. The Dunmore fans might be going to watch former Dunmore star Bob Ruddy. Ruddy missed practice earlier this week with a groin pull, but he says he'll be ready at game time. The Pennsylvania team will be coached by Dunmore coach Jack Hens. Also be looking out for Berwick's Charles Fedorko. That's tomorrow night in Hershey. Also tomorrow night, the Scranton Eagles will try to improve on their 2-0 record when they play defending.
The playing of the annual Scranton Lions Club Dream Game. It was the 52nd annual affair at Memorial Stadium, and John Evans has all the highlights.
The city in the white jerseys scored first using an 18-play drive that took almost 11 minutes. The key play, this great catch by Michael Conavoy of Prep down to the 2-yard line. From there, it was the crowd favorite, Bob Ruddy of Dunmore, busting over on the next play for the score. The extra point made it 7-0 City with just under 8 minutes left in the second quarter. So the first half ended with the City in front 7-0, and almost everyone here at Scranton Memorial Stadium really knew what was going to happen in the second half, that the City's great ground game was going to eventually wear down the county defense. That became evident in the second half as the City took the kickoff and marched downfield. Joe Spano of West Scranton carried the ball 10 times, this one going 15 yards down to the 3-yard line. On the drive's 14th play, Spano went over for the second score. The extra point was missed. It was 13-0 City with 2:55 left in the third quarter. On the county's next drive, Tim Hahn's pass was batted right into the hands of number 54, Art Coyne of West Scranton. He rambled 42 yards for the score. The extra point was missed again. It was 19-0 City after 3 quarters. With 7 minutes left in the game, Ruddy scored his second touchdown of the night. That made it 25-0 City on top. That's how it ended. The final score, 25-0 City. They break a 2-game, dream game losing streak. John Evans, Sports Watch 16, Scranton.
Congratulations to all the kids in that great matchup. Fishing game 4.